All right. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? We want to welcome you on behalf of the Grolier Poetry Bookshop to the third reading of 2025. We have some great poets who are reading here tonight. Before they do so, we ask you to please take out your cell phone and check and make sure that it is on silence. So thank you for doing that ahead of time. And I'm here to introduce the living legend, Lloyd Schwartz, who will be providing tonight's introductions, who himself needs no real introduction. But I will say that Lloyd told me today that Aerosmith Press is publishing his next book of poems next year, which is going to be incredible. We can't wait for that. So without further ado,
Thank
Lloyd Schwartz.
Thank you, James. It's really an honor to be introducing tonight's poets. A really interesting, wonderful, diverse group of poets. And I'm going to introduce all of them now, so I don't have to climb over them or fall over them, as the case may be. So first reader will be Robert Carr. Bob Carr is the easiest of today's poets to introduce because I've actually written about him before. And this is what I wrote about his second book, The Unbuttoned Eye. In these succulent, often disturbing poems, as in the photographs of Robert Mapplethorpe, which Robert Carr is in recurring dialogue, sex is less romantic than visceral. Yet what could be more alluring, harder to resist, even more giving, more dangerous, or more metaphorical than sexuality at its most intensely physical? Some of these poems are hard to read, painful, elegiac, but so ruthlessly honest, they remind us what art is for, to help us face and embrace what's real. In 1984, Bob moved to Boston, volunteered with the AIDS Action Committee, and became the first HIV testing counselor with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. In response to the HIV pandemic, Robert engaged in a 33-year career in public health and recently retired from the position of Deputy Director for the Bureau of Infectious Disease and Laboratory Sciences in Massachusetts. Bob is the author of two chapbooks, Amaranth, published by Indolent Books, and Phallus Sprouting Leaves in the 2024, is it Rane Arroyo Chapbook Series at Seven Kitchens Press, and the full-length collections, The Unbuttoned Eye and The Heavy of Human Clouds, both published by 3A Taos Press. And now we have the brand new Memento from the Lily Poetry Review Press. Gloria Mindock. Where to start? It's another special pleasure to be introducing Gloria Mindock, a great citizen of our poetry community. Gloria was the second of Somerville's Poets Laureate and is the founding editor and publisher of Cervena Barva Books, which is soon to reach its 20th birthday. This is a little personal note. When I got some grant money to edit a collection of poems by Somerville High School students, Gloria was, of course, the person I immediately turned to, and I couldn't have been happier with the way the book turned out. Gloria is also a remarkable and powerful poet and fiction writer. She's been called a tragic poet. The most recent of her 9 books and chapbooks, the most recent of her 9 books and chapbooks, both the 2 most recent of her books and chapbooks, both published by Glasslyre Press, are Ash from 2021 and Grief Touched the Night Sky from 2023, which Daniel Lawless, the editor of Plume, called, quote, a deeply stark and profound meditation on the human cost of war in Ukraine. Her poems have been translated into, do you want to guess, 12 languages, including full-length collections in Romanian and Serbian. And her books have won too many prizes and awards to list here. But I will say that last year, the New England Poetry Club awarded Gloria the Sam Cornish Award for all her work with the community and for the strong community outreach of Cervena-Barber Press. Tim Suermondt is the third reader. He has published 6 full-length books of poems, most recently A Doughnut and the Great Beauty of the World, and Josephine Baker Swimming Pool, both with MadHat Press. Tim gets my award for the books with the most intriguing titles, which also include Trying to Help the Elephant Man Dance, Just Beautiful, Election Night and the Five Satins. I think that's my favorite. And The World Doesn't Know You. His tender and witty poems have appeared in such distinguished periodicals as Poetry Magazine, Ploughshares, Prairie Schooner, the Georgia Review, Poet Lore and Plume. After many years in Brooklyn and Queens, a man after my own heart and experience, he now lives in Cambridge with his wife, the poet Pui Ying Wong. Let me quote the opening of one of my favorite of his poems. The great artist, quote, obviously, this poem isn't about me, though of course it will be. And the fourth reader is Pui Ying Wong. Pui Ying Wong lives in Cambridge with her husband, the poet Tim Suermondt. She was born and raised in Hong Kong, which is the location of her most recent book, Fan Ling in October, published last year by Barrow Street Press. She has published 3 previous books, The Feast, An Emigrant's Winter, and Yellow Plum Season, along with 2 chapbooks. Pui Ying has been awarded the coveted Pushcart Prize for her wonderful poem, Language Lesson for One, which I hope she will read tonight, which originally appeared in Constellations. And other poems of hers have appeared in such major literary magazines as Ploughshares, Prairie Schooner, Plume, Chicago Quarterly Review, and a budding publication you may have heard of called the New York Times. Poet Doug Holder admires the lyric beauty and deeply meditative nature of her poems and calls her a master of metaphor. One of the most chilling of these metaphors is from her poem, Becalmed City, Hong Kong, and I quote, the ultra-modern train pulls into the station, smooth as an informant's gloved hand. It's a pleasure to introduce all of tonight's poets. This is the hard part. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd, and thank everyone here tonight. These are complicated moments for all of us, and this, more than anything for me, is community, and I thank all of you for being here. This is my new book. It's out this month. And Lloyd shared his endorsement of an earlier publication, which reminded me of how important it's been to understand who I am and my origins as a person, both in terms of sexuality and in terms of identity through poetry. And this book is very, very different in that, but is still exploring that theme. These poems are in the voice of a child. And in order to write it, I had to accept that what the child was saying to me was something that I didn't have to battle. I didn't have to struggle with it. I had to allow that voice to be. And I'll start with the epigraph. Time to plant tears, says the almanac. The grandmother sings to the marvelous stove, and the child draws another inscrutable house. Elizabeth Bishop. Brown silk stockings. B dries brown silk stockings on the shower rod above my bath. They hang like wrinkled lady legs. Between tiles, black and peach, I scratch some sticky dark stuff. She sits on the smooth edge of the clawfoot tub. Stockings, drying, tickle her hair. Cold? She asks. Loud, hot water, scream and giggle, my reddening legs, her hand, a whirlpool between them. Gagging with B. She turns away to puke in her bucket. I pinch white puffs on her chenille spread, hug a blue beach pail. She rolls to her side. I look in my pail to see if I can throw up too. There's not much B in the bucket, just a little spit in mine. I press against her thigh. We groan in unison. She soothes me when we're sick. Moaning always makes it better. Pink kittens. Bee's second floor bathroom hangs off the house like a sinking boat. She moves around the kitchen. You know you had a brother. She lost him upstairs in the bath. Says my brother slipped out Mom into the tub, just like a little pink kitten. An open fridge. She fans her summer dress, airs coochie in the cool, shakes a wooden box of strawberries turned to fuzzy mice, bends some wilted carrots, holds a bottle of pickled pig's feet up to light. What you want for dinner, baby? Girl sweat and red lipstick. We rake and sweep the cat-pissed ivy in her yard. Bristles brush crumbled brick, Annapolis air, a July bowl of brown beans. My sister wipes her forehead, sweaty. Under a turquoise-fringed umbrella, B shifts a buttock, dries an upper lip with handkerchief as if she'd swallowed cardinal lipstick. My dear, women glow, men perspire, pigs sweat. My sister, murder red and shiny shoulder muscle. Pearl tights. Her avocado recliner flips out over a thread-worn rug. My arms stick to naga hide, to folds of B as we watch Baryshnikov soar across the screen. Pearl tights glow on muscled dancers. I'm flat and hard when she says, "Will you look at that man's ovaries?" I touch milk white underarms, point a foot, dream of undressed twirling. Candy cigarettes. They've got chocolate ones at A&P and bubble gums, El Diablo cigarellos, but I like just like Dad's the best. White, powdery, melting on my tongue, little red flames brushed on the tip. They taste like baby aspirin, orange, but only better. I studied B, her lucky strikes. In a creamsicle dress, she sits in a funny way when smoking under the sumac. Fingers stiff, nails done, elbow bent, wrist dropped back like her butt has weight. Smoke rises between fingers, legs crossed at the thigh. She seems to happy melt when blowing clouds. I practice poses on my candy-striped swing, chew half the pack, rock and drift into our special blue. Blue Memento. I reach and place a flower in her wide-brimmed hat. Mosquitoes catch the silence in my throat as she sachets. Gusts lift her skirt. Fabric falls in pleats that shield skin. This is before secrets find a name in daisies or the nests of birds. Look, Bee, I found a robin's egg. Taken by the blue, we puncture the sky shell's pin with a pin, drain white and yolk away. I leave a trace in the soft blow of a straw, display the empty by my cot. Kiss and kiss and air kiss between my body and her mouth. The robin pulls a worm from Bee's brown lawn. Can I return her blue memento? Pupils dilate, shades drawn, and every memory is bedwet yellow. Heaven opens to a hand on my toddler thigh, her palm just a little high for innocence. The bathroom lamp swings like a nod. In the tub, bubbles scatter. Wrapped in towels, we snuggle in the wall cloud of our storm. She dries my many creases, softens lines between my brows. Hukas. Not a dictionary word. I searched. Family slang for boy parts, something like a shame-flushed cheek, an exclamation, dirty to be cleaned, wash your hookus, put away your hookus. Her voice is diamond through an earlobe. Jiggly, blood-stained tighty-whities, thumb pressed to the roof of Bee's house. I'm guessing twisted Yiddish, tookus, ass, picked up on Annapolis streets. Upward pointing flesh, Baryshnikov's pale tights, ovaries on the outside, Mr. Bubble, gum-scented, Bubble's kids clean, softens skin, imperfection to be cut, divining rod in whirlpools, dreamscape in rooms on Duke of Gloucester. Boy without a root. Green steps. I slide around the back seat of Bee's bug. She takes sharp corners, pulls in Sinclair with the long-necked dinosaur, fills the tank and gets our green stamps. We've searched the idea book. Bee is saving for a set of lawn chairs she calls elegant. In the intersection, men are tarring, raise stop signs up to Bee. Out of the way, you ape, she shouts. Down the road, Bee points to a big car with darkened windows. Will you look at that? You want that car when you grow up? It's hot. The stink of gas and road tar fills the air. I let Bee know. I don't want a car. I want a driver. Talking sex. Bee's lemon kitchen backyard light bristles through windows. I ask her, what's a fuck? She holds a Fire King bowl the color of mint ice cream. Something wonderful we don't talk about. Bee adjusts her dress, cracks 5 eggs in the bowl, stares out a window, blue hydrangea, scrambles with a whisk. Who's out there, I wonder? Not often she won't answer me. Glowing like a boy. My sister would have hated boys much less if Bee had liked us best, but she liked me, everything that rests between male legs. A hand swirls bubbles in my boyhood. I like Bee best and she likes me. My sister spins on a tire in the yard, glows above her boyish shadow, laughs, t-shirt, armpits, half-mooned. Bee's closet. Eye-high shoeboxes where twins are buried without their feet. I try on shadows, slip into her red ones. Purses on bent hooks are beaded, tasseled. I click latches, breathe purple silk lines scented with Bee's whispers. Above me, hems of dresses are cottoned with flowers, stitched with gold Greek keys. She has a pretty picture of herself wearing that mint dress, keeps it by her bed. Her hair, brushed back, is black as a high heel. Opening sleeves on pretty dresses, head and shoulders wrapped in satin pleats. I stand in Bee's closet. And the final poem, I'm still trying to understand this and probably will take many years to do so, but in writing this collection, I discovered that there's something that comes through poetry that's pre-verbal, if that makes sense. The changing table. Water runs hot baby pink whoosh and kitchen sink. Bee holds me to a diapered shoulder. I, too young to pleasure words, am heavy-headed above her foaming gray water. Pruned, wrinkly, fingers cradle me in palms. I slide away, fat bubbled. Twist it, please, your little lamb chop wiggling on a changing table. Look to tea-brown eyes. It's me, Bee. The bath contains galaxy spirals, cut flesh rosies smeared in blue of night. Beside the sink, I'm powdered, squished through kneading hands, a woman feeding. Change me. Touch me. Wrapped in Bee's hibiscus apron, toothy, I cling and coo. She rocks, loves, buttery globes, keeps Mom out of the yellow kitchen. Cup it here, hard hook us, along fingers scrubbing pucker, soaping, sure it's clean, dressed in sailor's suit, for handing off to Mom. Thank you.
Little Grace here. That was wonderful. Oh. Thank you. Hi, everyone. And that was really wonderful, Robert. And it's an honor to read with Pui and Tim and Lloyd. Can I take you everywhere with me for an introduction? It was really wonderful for all of us. James, thank you so much. And to Carol too. And I was trying to decide what to read tonight, and I decided to do a mixture of older, recent, and then a couple new pieces for you. And the first, well, I need to see this. The first poem I'll read is from Blood-Soaked Dresses, and the title of the book is the same. Death crawls underneath the world and waits. Who will be next? 3 months ago, the soldiers murdered my 2 little girls. The bastards raped, tortured, and shot them in the head. Their screams were like bad music replaying over and over in my head. I talk to them every morning, and my day is planned for me. At night, they invent my dreams. My daughters are in a mass grave. Their blood-soaked dresses engulf their exquisite bones. They were so pretty. Children, you were brave. You know the soldiers' love was only fiction. Your scattered brains now interview the earth, and the earth speaks. For a little while, I pretend they grew up. I love this scenario. Of course, reality sets in. The place I stay at is between the living and the dead. Time stopped. Motionlessly, I hold my girls like a vine twisted up into the heavens. Alone, this gives me purpose, living in a ceremony, a paradise. Such a beautiful day, feeling the wind hit my face. I know it is a gift from the grave. The next few poems are from Whiteness of Bone, and that book basically covers the atrocities of Rwanda, El Salvador, Congo, Argentina, Guatemala, and many other countries. Sorrowful Air. The terrorist walks down the aisle. How many of us can he get if he acts now? The bomb goes off, blood and body parts strewn, fragmented all over, all for the love of the glow of the smoke blowing up into the air. The dead seem to hold on to the earth. The wreckage looks like a nest for some wild beast. Only those left, the witnesses, the living, feel the pain, cry, covering hearts with hands, bow heads. Their sounds are loud. Many spirits descend on this sun-streaked day that turned cloudy. Hope was abandoned in the bloody sky as grief touched our lungs. Hard to get the papers apart. Come on, Bessie. And at one of the readings I read with Brother Nicholas from a nearby seminary, and we were talking after the reading, and the poems I read that night were all very dark. And he said to me I was a light in the dark world, so I never forgot that. So I wrote this for him. You told me I was a light in a dark world. Hanging on to these words, I continue. Every day there is slaughter, murder, horrific things done to a body, things that make me sick. Day after day, death happens, despite the sun coming out to show the blue of the sky. Beauty and ugliness in battle, light and dark in battle. Each day a tug of war, and each day, each side wins somewhere in the world. You told me I was a light in a dark world. Why did you do this? Do you know something I don't? Am I an angel alone weeping with words coming out of my mouth that no one listens to? And next, I would like to read a few poems from I Wish Francisco Franco Would Love Me. I know that was my favorite title. I got a lot of flack for it too, because of the tense and that, but I didn't change it. So this is called Without Peace. Witnessing the remains beneath, the dirt is on you, Francisco. Fragments of life lost, blood of the innocent. On this day, the survivors weep like they do every day. Their skin is hollow from starvation. The bread they try to eat is ashen. No church bells ring today. No communion is taken. No host of our Lord swallowed. The only incense in the air is that of rotten bodies. Peace be with you are the only words, but they mean nothing. Christ on the cross cries, hope is lost. The prayers from lips drip down off bodies, no mercy, under the skin a stain. There is a cross inside each body where the suffering suffers with bullets, pinning them into eternity, finally giving them a rest, a home untouched by evil. And this next one from the book was one of my favorites to do because I kind of let loose on this. And an image I did has Franco with a bunch of fruit flies on his nose. And so this poem is that. The fruit fly. The fruit fly landed on Franco's nose and would not move. The skin was tasty. The flies started eating and eating until only bone was left. Francisco could no longer smell the slaughter. More fruit flies landed on his skin and chowed and chowed. Bony man Franco disintegrating into all the fruit flies' mouths. Spain was liberated. And now, let me find my where am I? Sorry. I forgot to, oh yeah, now I know where I'm at. So next I'd like to read from two poems from Ash. And Ash, so many people always tell me the problems. I'm on the street and cafes. It doesn't matter where I'm at. You know, my clients told me some really good stuff. So I decided to put it all in a book. They're all dead, so they can't come after me. I should tell you I was an addictions counselor. I mean, that's sad. I'm not making fun of them dying, of course. So I thought I'd bring some Midwest into the book, and this is called Escape. Trying to escape, but I am surrounded by flat land, no place to go. If I stand behind the tree, you will find me. Behind the barn, you will find me. Behind the house, you will find me. You would not expect me to hide down by the Illinois River or in the caves of starved rock. I will be there until my body decays. I will become a beautiful plant. When you walk past, I will give you a rash. And let's see here. I love serial killer books, true crime, all that. And I'm currently working on a manuscript called Almost Murder. But anyway, in the end of the book, I mean, murder is part of bad relationships sometimes. So the first stanza is Jay, the man, and the second stanza is the woman. Jay loved fake names. He was a burnt out novelist, wrote too many stories about horrific blind dates. He was a wild man, too many plastic bags in his kitchen. He would kill you, burn you, pretending it was love. M, an elementary teacher, went out with Jay. She thought he was popular, would bring her wealth. M was wrong. Her fate lay at the water's edge, an alligator. I couldn't help myself. And now I'd like to read from my most recent book about the war in Ukraine. The blindfold. Blindfold me so I don't see the damage, the dead bodies or blood on the ground. Wrap the blindfold tightly around my eyes so I don't see the Russian tanks. Puncture my ears so I don't hear the sirens that a missile is coming. Tie my hands together so I can't take a life. God would not want me to do this. Bind my legs so I won't run and flee from my home. Stop my heart from feeling loss, sadness, and grief before it overwhelms me. The soldiers are killing my family and friends, slitting their throats and burning them. I know this. Remove my blindfold, untie my hands, give me my hearing back, give me a weapon. On 60 Minutes, there were 2 prisoners of war that spoke, and this poem, after I heard them, came out of it. Bandages. In a Russian prison, she could hear the cries of Ukrainian men being raped. She was pregnant. Her husband did not know. All she wanted was her baby to be born in Ukraine, speaking to her stomach, urging, "Wait, little one." In a prisoner exchange, her baby was born in Ukraine. Another woman, so brutalized, she was not sure she would live, yet she was ready to fight again. Still, she did not want to leave home. Bombed out shell, dried blood in the dirt, wreckage like abstract art. A boot in the road filled with flowers, someone mourning a life, mourning their life. In some villages, every heart stopped beating at once. Can a village survive supported by the beating hearts of only 2? Yet the women carry on in the footprints stretched out before them, walking the same path, breathing a different story for a free Ukraine. Oops. Boots. My boots are dirty, but not from dirt. My boots are heavy, but not from weight. My boots are untied, but not from neglect. My boots are on the road. I did not take them off. My boots are worn by someone else. I did not give. My body is naked. I did not remove my clothes. My dignity remains while the dirt covers me. I love my country. I love my country. I am Ukraine. And I'd like to close with 2 mindless, silly poems. The scissors. The scissors are all shiny, sharp, and colorful standing up in the cup. Sick of being stuck and never used, they jumped onto the table, down to the floor, and cut their way into the next room. When Doris picks them up, wondering how they got there, she gets cut. Blood drips on the floor. The scissors snap closed to keep from laughing, but just for now. They are shoved back into the cup. A Band-Aid is put on her hand, blood cleaned up, and the scissors attack again. All because a hem was not sewn correctly. The scissors sliced through the material, cutting it in strips, ruining it, then hop back into the cup. Doris could not figure out how this happened. The scissors will never be good again. They love destruction and promise to keep doing this no matter where they end up. At night, while she and her husband are asleep, the scissors cut Doris's hair, uneven, cut a streak down the husband's hair, cut up the rugs, and sliced the drapes into long strings hanging. The next morning, Doris was perplexed and threw the scissors out. At the dump, the scissors were very busy until Sue took them home. Now it all starts again. Sue's hand was cut. The cycle repeats and repeats, a cutting for everyone when it is your time. And that I dedicate to David Miller, who's here. He and his wife, I was doing a project, the most dangerous household objects, and scissors was one of them. And what he and his wife Jane did were amazing. So it kind of inspired this. And I'll close with another kind of warped one. Chicken in a blue pleated skirt. In 4th grade, I had a navy blue pleated skirt. I wore it in high school. It still fit. When I threw it out, it was still in perfect condition. Now, many things push my body to flatness. It is difficult to squeeze into life. Rain, storm hits my skin until lightning bursts out of me. I feel half brilliant and half on a current, taking me somewhere. Balancing my mouth calls out to the hunters. This is a way it will always be, even in death, me smashed by the void, continuously making loud chicken noises from my red lips. Thank you so much. Get up first and we'll stand back here so you can get through and then I'll go.
We'll do a duet.
Yes. Let's do it, Dave.
Slip in there. Perfect. Thank you, James. That's great. Thank you, Lloyd. And it's good to be reading with Pui and Gloria and Robert. Robert and I, we've been talking about reading together for, it seems like quite a while, right? Right? So thanks to James and the good people at Grolier for making it happen. And thanks to all of you in the room. It's good to see all of you, friends and new friends. And thanks to everyone who's on Zoom. Somebody said that if you do a poetry reading, you should start off big. So, World War II. When the movie is over, I won't leave as a refugee, nor as someone wounded in body and or mind. The bombs that fell and the armies that clashed on the screen did only damage there. I'll exit simply as a man of a particular place and time, a man who wishes wars were extinct as the dodo birds, a man who opens his umbrella to the rain's invasion, a rain that everyone in Paris would have called beautiful. And good to end that last line with Paris, because Pui and I, that was the first major trip we took outside the country, was to Paris. And we've been there many times. And sort of our inside joke is that we know Paris better than Boston. And there is a lot of truth in that. This poem is Passy, which is a community in the west of Paris, a stone's throw from the Seine, and one more stone's throw from the Eiffel Tower. Passy. I buy an ice cream and go back into the park for the first time in many, many years. Everything has changed, and nothing has. A most interesting phenomenon. An old man helps an even older man to walk. A young couple are mesmerized by each other. And there I am, a boy carrying a stack of books. What on earth was I thinking? But history has yet to figure out what to do with me. So there's hope for a surprise. Maybe in a decade where miniature stars drop on rooftops on their way to falling around my feet. And all I can do is look up in wonder. Edgar Quinet. I knew him first as a subway stop, and the area awash with cafes and restaurants, a memorial site to Josephine Baker down the block, across from a sparkling supermarket. With quick research, I discovered that Quinet was a writer too, even wrote some poetry. Obviously a brave man. I'm hopeless, someone who still believes in the rights of man, despite the growing number who desire to give and receive a boot in the face. When I return, I'll carve out some time to visit his gravesite at Montparnasse. Greet him the way we always greet the dead, with respect and a nonchalance, because we're still alive, capable of falling in love any minute now, dreaming on the metro of all things possible. My friend disappeared years ago, and I and his friends have never seen him nor heard from him since. Oh, now and then in that beautiful blue moon, I think I've encountered him sitting by the bus window, yet I don't even wave anymore. At this point in my life, I'm realizing disappearing is simply part of life. That bus will disappear one day, as all my friends and I will. No suitcases needed, and no need to lock the doors. Go as you desire. But let me say this too. Tonight I'm having dinner with a friend I haven't seen in ages. I remember her sharp-tongued humor, her exquisite dance steps, and my two left feet trying to work a little magic. Don't be sad. Since this happened to me, I hope it happens to all of you, all the writers in here, and those who are thinking about writing. I win the Nobel Prize. Immediately after I get the word, I take a walk in the neighborhood, doing nothing out of the ordinary. He's probably headed for the grocery store, some will say, if they say anything about me at all. But I can't help stopping a man and asking him what he thinks of the Nobel Prize. What's Nobel again? He says, and I thank him and walk on. He's put everything in perspective. Yes, I did win the Nobel Prize, a miracle. But I should pick up a few items, a loaf of bread, a quart of milk for sure, since I'm already going in that direction. Bob Zimmerman has nothing on me. Although when I saw the title of the movie, A Complete Unknown, I thought it was about me. You're so vain. I know. And this poem is actually, tonight it's for James, because last summer he was on his honeymoon, and part of that was undertaken in Venice. Now this actually is Genoa, but it's as close as I came. As Groucho Marx said, you go your way, I'll go my way. So, this is for James, but all of you can listen in. Fisherman. He decides it's time to make that faraway move, believing he can thread his new life as well as he rigged and maintained the trawlers for decades. He wraps up his small drawings of mermaids he did a while ago. That's over, but he can't leave them behind. He won't be found tonight in the string of bars along the waterfront, bars invisibly tethered to the moon. He'll be in bed early, dreaming of the coming dawn, while the mermaids on top of his suitcase bask in the dim light, shining like brides. And home called Hong Kong, another place that Pui and I have been quite often. We were last time there in November and December of 2019, when the pandemic just started oozing out of China. But more importantly, that was the height of the yellow umbrella revolution. The citizens of Hong Kong, led by the students, they just had enough of the heavy hand that they were getting from the mainland, and we invariably wound up seeing so much of that, maybe more than we wanted to see. Clashes, street clashes, almost clashes, security forces rounding people up, beating people up, arresting people, tear gas, you name it. We actually partook in one demonstration, or I guess more or less a rally of well over 2 million people, and we marched throughout the city, being hounded all the way by the security forces. But this is a earlier Hong Kong, sweeter Hong Kong. Hong Kong. We walked down the long alley, holding hands and talking the sweet chat of romance. The mops propped against the walls on both sides seemed to stand at attention for us, a silent honor guard, and soon we'll be bathed by the sun rays on the main street too. The double-decker buses going by like whirls. This one, where lovers cannot die. A basketball court. A long, long time ago, if you let me open from 15 to 18 feet, you were in trouble, because that shot I would bury. And over the years, the legend of my jump shot has grown. Sometimes in my poetry. A basketball court. Almost in no man's land. Sprinkling of rubble, weeds and trees not worth the name all around. On the other side of the city, business is booming, and buildings built so quickly, how could anyone from this side ever hope to keep up? The concrete here, though, is perfect for dribbling and perfecting the skills of a point guard. Shoot, drive, show off the marvelous passes. A sensational move worth the sweat and the entire vocabulary of swear words. Evening lights and the moths will arrive soon, humbled again at having missed so much. Literature. My wife is at her desk, working hard on a poem. Yes, poems are work, as much as digging ditches all day, readying planes on the flight line in every type of weather, hauling fruit to destinations longer each trip, the jobs I did before the muse and I were properly introduced. I don't want to disturb my wife, but I call out, "How's it going?" And she calls back, "There's possibilities." And instantly, I'm certain possibilities should be the title of every book of poems. Another masterpiece I'll be shown soon. The metaphors I wish had been mine. And I will end with just two short poems. I might be the only poet who makes a mention of Dean Acheson, who was the Secretary of State, Harry Truman. I also have something on Neville Chamberlain, but that's for another reading. Long after Dean Acheson, the world keeps tottering, but never falls. Bombers still fly, and mothers push prams through the people's parks. Change introduces itself at breakneck speed, and the ink on treaties runs to illegible. We muse on the future the way bees dream of a smear of honey. We laugh and weep in the sun and rain. And the final poem, Pui had asked me recently, of all the poems that you've written, which one is your favorite? Well, that was really a tough one. So I just kind of hemmed and hawed. But when I thought about it, I thought this poem certainly is a contender. It's not much of a poem, actually, but there's something about it that unites me from a boy to a young man, middle-aged man, to now a slightly older man. And I tell everyone, and I think it is true, that this is my Ars Poetica. So thank you all again for coming. And here's the poem, Emperor. I pick up my piece of pie and march down the street, back to my apartment. I feel like Caesar returning from Gaul to a worshipful, widely cheering crowd in Rome. This is all I in this poem want to say. How radiant is that? Thank you. You'll make it through. Oh no, I got that. What dexterity.
How's the mic? Good. Okay. So good to be here, to be with all of you who come tonight. Really thankful. Thank you to Lloyd, that generous introduction, very kind, and to James and Gloria. And what a delight to be reading with Bob, Gloria, and Tim. So I think most of you are poet. Have you ever been in a situation where you have a list that you read and then you want to change multiple times? Okay. So this is what happened with me too. So I'll be reading from my two books and also some newer works. The coat. Sometimes I take it out of the plastic box, surprised at how well it hold up. The color is still a cool-toned vermilion with a black silk underlay. Short collar, front claps, Chinese style, falling to my hips. I run my fingers over the embroidered plum blossoms, finches stitched to a branch and to a lattice window where a woman is kept at her work table, needles and threads, a motif unchanged through the years. I was a daughter living in my parents' house. I wasn't talkative. I daydream. The coat has come with me house to house, and here in late Massachusetts light, a memory pursuing me. Do I now see the shadows beneath the evergreen, blossoms going limp in a quick frost, and the finches, well-bred, non-migratory, singing the virgin songs, spare of lament, the ache of lost and found? They sing exuberantly, they sing in captivity. At Warden Pond, I visited one time. Maybe all it takes is a body of water, a low-slung sun, trees brimming in the woods as they've done through the ages, to find a path back to ourselves. To Thoreau, what seems bucolic is a call to action, the need to wake and rewake, to emerge again in imagination and ponder. How fickle spring is, the ever-pressing have I lived? Crowds along the cove looking pleased in the beach chairs, I among them. I fret and seek peace at once, but this too may be a symptom of quiet desperation. There are days when nothing moves and only silence reigns. Even the transcendentalist had to escape, dine in his friend's townhouse, bright with chandeliers, drink, gossip. At the sight of his cabin, I spot a cairn of stones, arranged and rearranged like our lives, sweat, swagger. And I take one as a token of an imagined life I have not lived. So I was really surprised to hear that Thoreau, when he was living in Walden Pond, he would go to town and a couple of times a week and with his friends and doing a lot of stuff and then go back to the woods to meditate. I think that's a great formula. My cousin, Professor X. She has that look of an intellectual, wears thick glasses, and favors Mao suits. She loves a woman who used to be a man and is the age of her son. They live in a university town in a dormitory for scholars. They have no trouble with the neighbors. She is an authority on human intimacy. She is older than her government. Her country considers her subversive, yet tolerates her talks on sex, gender, and age matters as mere fetishes. But not when she says, in the face of love, she bows to love. Is a real character, although not my cousin. So last summer, Tim and I went to Berlin, and it's my visit for the first time. And so this is a poem about impression of the city, and it's in 3 segments, and each one is about a location. The first one is really a park, Tiergarten, for those of you who've been to visit. And the second is a major boulevard, Unter die Linden. And the last one, I took a line from a German Jewish poet. Her poem I read in the memorial for the murdered Jews. Her name was Gertrude Comer, and the line, you will hear it later. I don't know much about the poet, but the poem really moves me. So here is the poem, A Little Berlin in June. Tiergarten. In a former hunting grounds, overfed dogs trace sands left by the tourists. The Russian soldier monument imposes like war itself, but is only a statue. A boy fishes in the drizzle. Our gaze follow the algae, glazing the pond to a fable green. Unter die Linden. A makeshift tribute for Ukraine. A candle burns high for Navalny. A photograph of him looking at us looking. Soccer fans swam past. Their colorful jerseys resembles a nation's flag. We don't know whose, but a hopeful moment leaves. Only night listens. Gertrude Comer. She was already a poet before the Gestapo found her. She wrote of her murdered people, despair and love. A great day, small crowds, stark words on the memorial. Voices rattle in the hollow, dirty rain pattering on the slabs. Next poem has a line from Thomas Tranströmer. The line is, the night heavens gave off moves. It kind of make me wonder what would that sounds like. So the poem is called This Night. After a time in mourning, My sleep wants to go out to hear other sounds. A star's grown, Moscow at the edge of never. A sound formed in the hollow, a sound from many sounds, bonded to air, to earth, reverberating in the black river of sleep, where past and present join like flowers to dusk, mist to dawn. The spoon I'm eating from, the cool dip, the way metal hits the tongue, the way sharp juices run down my chin, and I'm awake. Death cleaves us apart, but like atoms, we are in fact indivisible. So I too have a Paris poem. As Tim mentioned, we really like going there, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But there's a district I particularly love is the Montparnasse or the 14th district, for its really interesting history and interesting and also diversity, which this poem will mention. So there are a couple of names, pardon my French. They are some restaurants that I have to use the French words for it. They are really 100 years old, so it's pretty amazing to me. So it's a name of a street called Rue de l'Ambra. As soon as the plane takes off, the city is but a memory. Gum sky, wet pavement. Is the market still open in Edgar Quinet? The pews fill in the church of Saint Sulpice. La Dome, La Capello are never without light. Where once Josephine Baker sauntered in with her pet cheetah. Hemingway in Bar Dingo, and now it is Narcol, lover of all things French, cutting my hair in her cozy salon, the way Rodin chipped the block of marble into the kiss. Afterwards, she bring me a tin cup of chocolate char. I'm from Hokkaido. It's utterly cold there, you know. I too am from somewhere else. My life made of longing, arriving and departing, each city a new dawn. Rue de l'Ambra, its ghost thriving, no longer bothered by the what might have been, the cruelty of long goodbyes. Whispers on the crowded streets as December's penumbra light pours over endless traffic till night is overcome. And I see in the mirror the blessed Narcor. So this book, The Feast, came out in the early part of 2023. It was a little delayed, so my other book caught up. I'll read two poems from this book. Without flower and worm. Yes, it was a bitter earth on which we travel, on which we wander like a troop. A midnight bus did not come, and we were stranded along the fence of strangers. We nibble on little pieces of biscuit and dry cheese, the luxury taste of the foreign. We learn that border is only a gate, some dogs and the gods' wild gestures. We will to divide here like a plant, like the living and the dying. Yes, nothing remains as it was. And like the hard-flying trapeze, we know by heart the rhythm of catch and release, when it was our turn to tumble high and wide in the air. So here's a poem that Lloyd kindly mentioned. It's called The Language Lesson for One. If I knew French, I would speak its music, its melancholy. If I knew French, I would ask questions like how much, where is, be comfortable with words like money, lost. I'll rescue this French workbook, 4,000 of them pressed together between navy blue covers for traveling artists. This afternoon, no one needs it more than I. I'll learn a few words, words that have no equivalent in English or Chinese, like the word for loneliness. Not the one that means without friends or love, but the kind you find between horizon and the sea, or homesickness, the kind you find when you are home. So I have two more poems for you, and from this book, Fanling in October. Now, Fanling is a suburban, kind of a backwater area in Hong Kong. It got developed in the recent years, and that's where my father lived after his retirement. There are a handful of poems about Hong Kong, and I'll just read you one of them. This one is called Day Tripping in Lau Fao San. Lau Fao San, again, is a little small area near the border with China. And this area is really known for a lot of oyster farms. Day tripping in Lau Fao San. Shucked oysters sleep in the wicker caskets. The fishmonger would like to find a match for her spinster daughter. Across the bay, Sanshan, the miracle border city, and snails and factory haze. Get rich is patriotic. Even Mao's granddaughter isn't hiding her billions. At the height of his power, Mao swam the width of the Pearl River, and men escaping him swam at night with lights from the trawlers. Always a few didn't make the journey, their bodies already blue when washed up. Thank you again. Night highway. I'm on a long distant bus, thinking of the journey ahead. Lights peer from the dark woods, faint TV images. In the air comes the scent of burning logs, scent of a place where I am absent. Memory's door suddenly opens, allowing glimpses of a lost world. Some shreds of clouds, a hill, houses, and a garden lit by green lanterns. And the girl that I was remains there, running her heart out. But where to and what was the message, I can't say even now. Outside, the sky is close as a whisper. The flattened landscape seems to squeeze out time. Strapped in my seat, I lean forward. Moments swirl past once more like hisses of fire. Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful reading tonight. Let's give the power. And thanks all of you for attending. If you could please put your chairs up against one of the walls, I'd be very grateful. We have some books for sale, poets will be signing books. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you for coming.
I tried to get him for you. Wait, thank you. Thank you. I know, it's hard to.
Chairs against.
Yeah.